Hello there, I'm Stephynie Malik. I was asked to put together a recording of some amazing podcast tips for you, but I didn't feel like it would be truthful and transparent if I didn't tell you all the nightmares as well. So I want to start. Why I started Spin It and then Spin It on Sports is to show people that there is another way to move through the entrepreneur journey. There's also another way to move through crisis journey. People are so set in their ways that they don't really understand that there's another way to do things. I had zero desire to start a podcast. Here's what happened. In early 2021, I was interviewing digital media agencies, and one of the CEOs said, "I'll take you on as a client if you start your own podcast." Truth be told, no way. I had never listened to a podcast, and I had no desire to start now. Since starting my brand and moving my services online, I had so many questions. And the one thing I knew for certain is I never wanted to be part of the noise that had affected me so greatly. 3 things. I had never listened to a podcast. Who the heck has that much time to even listen to a podcast? And then lastly, who listens to a podcast? Like, what is so engaging that you spend 20, 30, 40 minutes, and sometimes even 60 minutes listening to a podcast? Like, what really makes a great podcast? So, I'm brand new, but maybe not so brand new, as I don't do anything a little bit. Since July of 2021 to date, I've recorded over 60 podcast episodes. I've started a YouTube channel, and I've guested on over 30 podcasts. So far for 2022, I have 30 podcasts booked through March, and I'm guesting on another 20 in the first quarter. So here's what's happened for me so far. We've ranked in the 1 percentile globally for Spin It. I'm constantly learning and iterating new layouts, new designs, new formats, and new brand. I've moved away from our digital media agency, and we've begun producing internally. I've started Spin It and Spin It on Sports, called SOS, dedicated to coaches, players, and agents. We started a YouTube channel, and all of this in under 6 months. How did I do it? And then do it again, and then redo it, and then do it one more time? First and foremost, the number one thing that you have to do is focus on your equipment. Equipment is a real thing. Sound quality varies so much depending on what you use. I started with a Yeti and now use SureMic. I also invested in a Logitech camera. Also, make sure you get a good quality ring light too, one with warm and cool tone lighting. Also, soundproof your room. I used pillows and blankets and anything that would muffle until my loving husband finally created an incredible sound room. So the smaller the room, the better. We used a huge fluffy carpet, soundboards, and in the corner, we added bass traps. So now that we have all of the equipment out of the way, let's go ahead and start. What is the purpose of my podcast? Now, this is a question I wish someone had asked me, and no one asked me. They just said, "Steph, start." So when I started, I felt scattered and all over the board. Then it finally occurred to me, do I want this to be fun and entertaining, or do I want this to be educational? I decided, since I'm not all that much fun, that I was going to make it educational. And it's been a giant success. So when you start your podcast, figure out what the purpose of your podcast is and exactly how you want to convey your message. Next, who's your target audience? Know your audience and define your niche. Remember, they say, if you serve everyone, you serve no one. This was really difficult for me. I had so many years of experience. I had been a global business consultant for many, many years. I had operated my company in 22 countries. So to think about really niching down, that was very difficult for me, and it took several iterations. So just think about who really is completely targeted to your message, to who you are and what you have to say. Next, think about outlining your podcast. What will your podcast be? Will it be free-flowing conversation? Will it be a set of questions? Or will you just have a loose outline? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But try a couple different ways before you settle on one. Remember, you don't have to publish everything that you record, but really try to get to how you feel the best and how you feel the most natural. Next, how will I brand and design my podcast? I had no idea how much work this entailed. This is so huge. Spend time deciding how you want to brand. What's your design going to look like? What are your colors? How will your title cards look? Think about and go research podcasts that you love. You will notice how you see them on YouTube or how you see them on video will feel differently than how you listen to them on audio. Just take some notes and do a lot of research. Next, how will I produce my podcast? Again, no idea how many people this touched. Distribution, pre-production, post-production, video editing, audio editing, guest outreach, reels, stories, content, new pictures, which seem to be literally every minute, title cards, guest cards, sharing of assets, creating nurturing emails and nurturing sequences so people got the assets on time and knew exactly how to post with different social tags and different hashtags. I could go on and on and on. The deal is, it was a lot of work. Next, where will my podcast be featured? Again, I had no idea about organic growth opposed to media buying. I didn't know what an agency management fee was. I didn't know how to get my podcast out there. I didn't know who cared about it, who would want to listen. How would they find it? I didn't know any of these things. This was hours and hours of research. These hours of research were in the middle of me producing. Don't do that. Start now and do a great outline so you're not starting and stopping and losing momentum that you worked so hard to get. Okay, now we're getting towards the fun part. Who will be my guests and why will they be your guests? Think of 20 guests that are absolute reach. Mine were Michelle Obama, Mark Cuban, Tim Ballard, Naveen Jain, just to name a few. Those are the guests that you really had to do a special outreach for, which we'll get to in a second. Then do who's in your market, your field. What are you actually conveying? Who will be engaged with your content? As an example, if you're doing finances, figure out who the finance people are that want to listen to your podcast. If you're doing entertainment, where will it lie and who will you have enjoy your show? Think about who your listeners would be inspired by. Start there. Next, how will I tell my guests who I am and why they should come on the show? This was hard because they are getting so many people that reach out to them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I spoke to a guest who said that they had 80 requests in 1 week. So imagine it from their perspective. How do they decide? You have one shot to actually show them who you are and why they should come on your show. Be a standout. Start with sharing who you are in a succinct, concise manner, but actually be punchy, light it up. Next, how will I reach my guests? What am I going to do? Am I going to tweet them? Am I going to email them? Am I going to call them? What is the best way to reach your guest? I can't answer that for you because I don't know what market or what segment you're going to go after. What I can tell you is what worked for us is very personalized, detailed, concise messaging. We emailed along with a one-pager of myself, and we said, this is why we're different. Next, how many podcasts do you hope to do a month? I've done 20 in a month, and I've done 2 in a month. I really like somewhere in the middle. For me, 8 to 10 feels really good. It's comfortable. The biggest problem with that is, what happens when no one wants to schedule on the days that are open in my calendar? And that is every single month. I've tried it every way possible. I've tried opening Wednesdays. I've tried opening every other Wednesday and every other Friday. I've tried a weekend. I've tried Sundays. I've tried Mondays. No matter what, it is not consistent. And we're not a big enough show to actually really call the shots. So I try to be flexible. What my team now does is we send out for the month of March, we are opening for bookings. And then we see the most amount of responses for each day and we book on those days. This is different for everybody. Really, it depends on how much flexibility is within your calendar. Again, be flexible and be open. This is brand new for everyone. Figure out your measurement of success. When will you know this podcast has been successful for you? For me, it was a few things. I wanted to have consistent, real bookings with very interesting, impactful people. Number 2, I wanted a workflow process that worked for everyone. And number 3, I wanted to impact and inspire as many people as I possibly could in 1 year. So my goal was how many people were giving me 5-star reviews and commenting on all of my content. That was my measurement of success. What will yours be? So, in closing, I hope you've enjoyed these tips, the good ones, the not so good ones, and everything in between. I've really enjoyed doing this for you. If you found any value or anything resonates with you, please feel free to reach out, contact my team, or follow me on StephanieMalik.com. All of my social handles are the same, StephanieMalik.com. Follow the podcast, Spin It with Stephynie Malik, subscribe and like, and leave me a review. Thanks again for all of your time.